Welcome to thestockminter.com here in the beautiful Black Hills of South Dakota. Another beautiful day of 65 degrees. I am your stock minter, Brian Johnson. Another flat, boring, sideways day today. We did start with a little bit of a gap down, and if you just look at the charts, you'll see that overall in the indices, we just wandered sideways from there. Pretty much closing right where we opened by the time the day was done. This makes for very, very difficult trading. Very hard to trade this type of motion within the markets, especially if you're, well, obviously for you day traders. Now, if you're an investment trader, you looked at the day, you might have seen that we're down 4 points, whatever it might be. NASDAQ was down a little bit stronger today, but overall, really not a large move one way or the other. This is still more neutral to bullish than anything because it looks just like all of the other pullbacks we've seen in the past. So let's just go back to the most recent one here, and you can see that little 1, 2, 3 motion, or ABC motion right here. That is just a bull pullback. Another move to the upside. Here we go again with that same type of a look, 1, 2, 3, or an ABC, if you will. And where's the next? Where's the next direction? Well, I mean, looking at it, you can't help but think that it's going to be the same as it has been, and that is upwards. So watch for pushes back above these moving averages. Look how well it held this lower moving average on the Dow. We're looking for pushes back above here and ultimately back above here. Any further movement up, just, we might get one day where we get some really good action, but I'm having a hard time believing that we're going to see much more than a 50 to 100 point push up or so if you're a Dow player, or a 5-10 point move within the SPX. That's been the mantra. It's been a gradual grind up, but a very slow grind up. And today looked like more of the same, just consolidation to the downside. No heavy selling coming in, nothing in the internals to indicate that it was anything but more neutral. And so here we are again, stuck in the same rut, and that is waiting for it to break to the upside and for potentially more long positions. So as you see on the daily, yes, we have a couple of little red candles here, but they're not out of the norm. You go back, you see the same type of looks back in here and back in here, and this is the same type of thing, setting up that way anyway for the time being. Now we get back below these areas, okay, now we start talking. I'm just not going to get all that excited until we do. And it's not just moves into this area, it's closes below this area. I really want to see that. If we can get all the way back to 12,000, I'll tell you what, it's a pretty major move. We haven't seen many of those. We saw one right here, and so a push down of 200 points is a pretty big move within the markets. I would be watching for that, and I would be watching for these levels to go, but until then, it's just either a high base, it's really kind of a bull pullback in this case, or we're just wandering our way downwards. We can even do this one more day where we see maybe a little bit more of this action, end up with some sort of a hammer candle on the day or something like that. Would be very indicative of what we're seeing here, and that is just a bull pullback from the Dow. NASDAQ 60-minute, same thing here in a consolidation to the just sticking around this 2380-ish area, and you can see holding on to this 20 period moving average on the 60-minute chart and holding very well. So for you Ellioticians, looks like a triangle here, waiting for it to break one way or the other. Now we get, once again, lower areas are back in here for me on the NASDAQ, but to the upside, here you go. This is your next push. Right in and above this 2385 to 2390 area on the NASDAQ. From a daily perspective, too, you can see after one day here, there's that little doji pullback we've seen multiple times before, going back to even November since this big rise started in through here. So maybe another day, maybe another pullback day. It's anybody's guess. But looking at that 2380, 2390 area really for the NASDAQ up and over that. Might see that come tomorrow. I'll be watching for that type of a move. Weekly, look, we're going nowhere. 2 days of nothingness. Really not doing anything yet. There will be a day, I would guarantee that there would be a day of movement at some point during this week. Uncommon, I should say, to see a very slow week like this during options expiration. Not certainly out of the question, but very, very uncommon to see this thing not move at least one day, one way or the other. Look for that Wednesday into Thursday and see if we don't finally start to break out of this rut of this just slow consolidation sideways. Here it is, the SPX, same thing, holding that 1325 area, not once but twice, beautifully. This is just textbook TA right here. So now we're looking to see if we can break some of these overhead levels, and away we go again. So if you want to get a little bit more speculative, you can try something above 1330. I would really suggest you wait till we get up into these areas here before you start taking that climbing to the long side, but I wouldn't expect it to go very far. However, still the best play ahead of you right there. Otherwise, back below here now, once again, we have something to discuss. So I'm really looking for pushes back below this 1320 or even 1315 really area. Moreover, just to make sure those things are broken first before we start looking at any kind of a move to the bear side. But as it is right now, it's lather, rinse, repeat. Up, pull back, up, pull back, up, pull back. It's just the same thing over and over. Daily, same type of thing here. Now we saw one candle here, like we did on the NASDAQ, in a pullback fashion. Nothing major to get excited about, especially if you're a bear. There's nothing here. Nothing. This was the one opportunity, and the bull said no. Right here, this is nothing. Nothing more than this. Nothing more than this. And on and on and on and on all the way back. So just looks like a bull pullback right now, looking for breaks up and over that area to continue that. If for some reason we do get that move to the downside, I really like it back below these areas in the bigger picture. VIX daily as well, it was up a little bit today while the markets were down today. So finally a little bit of that confirmation, VIX up, market down. But all we've seen from these moves up in the VIX has led to further upside in the markets. And the VIX drops again. It's just, it moves up really fast only to clear room so it can go back down every bit as fast. Well, I shouldn't say every bit as fast, but to weed its way back down. As you see here, move up really quick right here and then grind your way back down for the next umpteen days in a row. Weekly's looking the same thing here. We're not doing anything. We're resting on this 15. I told you guys yesterday I love buying options down in this area. I love a low VIX when I'm buying my options. Get rid of that volatility. That really helps you a lot when you're going for premium and stuff on your options. So I did and have a couple of options down here now because of the low VIX. We'll see if this continues to hold. Obviously, to me, I would love to see this thing spike one way or the other. But history has told me that I don't know if we're actually going to get that. Looks like we've been stuck right here in this 15 to 18 range for quite a while. I would expect more of that to happen. Apple 60-minute right at the very end of the day. Look, we got that poke up. What didn't it do? Yeah, I didn't break 360. So, yeah, it was a nice little move at the end of the day. Good volume. Sure, no reason to expect that we couldn't see this thing gap tomorrow. Up a little bit, get up above that 360 area, and as long as it holds, here we go. Apple's off to the races, completing what would look like maybe that 1, 2. This is a sub 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. This is the 4 wave, and now we're working on that 5th wave up. This looks very natural. This looks like a 1 sideways, 2, 3 to the upside. By the way, guys, on a side note, I talk a lot about the Elliott Wave stuff. Some of you are familiar with it. Some of you are not familiar with it. But I'm currently working very, very hard on an Elliott Wave webinar type thing that I'm going to put together, hopefully have done very soon if you are interested in that. Stay tuned. Let me know. So maybe I'll send you an email when it's all set up and ready to go. There will be a charge for it, but it's going to be really cheap. I think it's going to be an Elliott Wave class on the basics for, I don't know, 49 bucks, I think is where I'm going to start the first class, and then maybe raise it after that. But to start it out and to get I want to get everybody's feedback on it. That's where I'm going to start it, and we'll see what you think of it. And it'll be an introductory course to Elliott Wave and give you an idea of what I'm talking about when I'm spitting out this 1, 2, 3 ABC type stuff. Some of it's Greek to a lot of you, and that's okay. It's really not that hard to understand, but it does take time and effort, and it does really, really help when you've got someone to show you the ropes. I did when I got into the Elliott Wave stuff, and it was infinitely easier than trying to pick up a book and read about it if I had somebody there to ask questions to. So be looking for that later on here down the road. Anyway, getting this little pop towards the end here. Really like to see this thing get up and over 360, and then I think Apple's got some real good room to run if it'll do that, and it looks like it wants to really bad here. Looks like it wants to get up and over that area in a big way. We're just not seeing the push quite yet, but I really do think that if we can get above 360, we can see some bears cover, and I think we could run for a little while here in Apple, staying above so far that weekly line that we've been watching. FAS on a 60-minute as well, consolidating sideways, not going anywhere. The bank's been kind of slow right in this area, but still holding up very well. Haven't broken these lines of support. Just can't get above these lines of resistance. 34, mentioned it as one of my overhead targets once we got above 33, and look how well it's holding. Just pow, 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 beating its head against that overhead resistance. Can't do it. I still like it over 34. We get above that 34 area, still an opportunity to go long. This right now has to be treated as a high base formation for all practical purposes. Not quite enough information there for me yet, but as it is right now, got to treat it bullish and as a high base. FAZ 60-minute, which means it's going nowhere as well. Held this little line here very, very nicely, up a whopping 5 cents today for all of you FAZ bulls out there. And on the daily, just wandering sideways. This would then, of course, be a low base or the beginnings of a low base formation. So drops back down below that 750-ish area or so. Could potentially start to move us downwards yet once again, putting us where I'm really targeting this lower blue line on further pushes to the downside, as I have been since way back here. It's grinding its way and it's taking its own sweet time, but I really like this area down here. If you don't have it marked on your charts, I suggest you do if you're a FAZ lover and we're looking at places to maybe start thinking about long positions. Certainly wouldn't be suggesting you necessarily dive in, but I'm saying gives you ideas of where to look to at least start thinking about long positions. All right, so last 2 days pretty slow, not a whole lot to talk about. All sideways action, as you can see, going back to the 9th here. The high of 12,254 puts us back at 12,226 today. That's sideways action, guys. That's consolidation. That's amore. That's so we're waiting for the break. Let this thing break up and over these areas, then you have your entry, then you have your opportunities. But right now, we're into this same move up, move sideways, move up, move sideways, move up, once again, move sideways. This is all very good and very bullish for the markets till we break these lower levels. Okay, see you again tomorrow night. Bye.